welcome to Elements of Ayurveda, Empowering Wisdom of Life. I'm your host, Colette, and in this podcast, I hope to empower you to take charge of your own health by sharing the holistic teachings of Ayurveda, the ancient healing tradition from India. We will also discuss topics like health and wellness, nutrition, yoga, fitness, meditation, breath work, and much more, as well as interviewing lots of inspiring people along the way. My humble wish is to help you to connect to your true nature, to Mother Nature, and to each other. If you like the content, be sure to subscribe to the show, and the new episodes will automatically download for you to enjoy. If you're new to Ayurveda, I recommend you listen to the first couple of episodes where I do an introduction to Ayurveda and the mind-body types. I've also set up a Facebook group for us to connect and to support each other, and I'd love for you to join me over at Elements of Ayurveda podcast group. And now, here's the show. Hello, and welcome to Elements of Ayurveda. I'm very happy to have Amy in the house today. Hi, Amy.
Good morning. It's good to be in the house.
Well, I'm delighted to have you here. As always, I love our conversations. And today we're going to talk about finding balance between our spiritual journey and our personal and professional life. Talking about materialism versus spiritual life. And I know this is something that I definitely deal with all the time. And also I get a lot of questions from clients about this. How about you, Amy?
You know, honestly, I don't think my clients are as conscious of, really dedicating themselves to a spiritual life. I don't think they're super materialistic, but it's not that they have a mindset of, I must live a spiritual life. So it's a struggle for me and my yoga students and my teacher trainers. We're all thinking about this, but my actual clients, they just have neck pain or back pain. And it takes a while to kind of lead them to the idea that, hey, a spiritual life can actually help you with your back pain or your neck pain.
Right. But I think we talked about it before, when you're so consumed with that pain, no matter what it is in your body, that takes over everything.
Right. And that's where my yoga therapy clients are. So I would say this. Sense. Yeah, this discussion for me it's more for people who have already kind of decided, I want a spiritual life, and it's hard to maintain it with the society that I have around me.
Yeah, exactly. And I get it from clients who have gone through the cleanse. So they've done their reset, and now they're going through the daily habits course. So they're starting to implement these new practices. And then they start thinking, oh, wait, now, how am I going to, live my life and do these daily practices and still hang out with the people I hang out with? But we're going to discuss that today and give tips on that. And, definitely, like I said, it's something I'm still working on, Amy's working on, and it's always a work in progress. And but what I'd like to do first is kind of take it back a bit. And, life is really a journey of self-realization, according to Ayurveda and yoga. And it's all about realizing the self or the soul or the true nature. And the soul is already within us, right? On the spiritual journey, we're kind of just uncovering our true nature, what's already inside us. It's our truth. And I love the story of Michelangelo. I think I've talked about this before, but I'm going to tell it again because I love it so much and it describes it so well. The famous sculptor, Michelangelo, he would go and pick a big piece of marble from the quarry when he wanted to create a new sculpture or a statue, and he would go to the quarry, and his vision was that the statue was already within the piece of marble, and it was just his job to get rid of the excess marble to reveal its true beauty. And that's, really what our journey is in life. And on this spiritual journey, everything we do should be that journey to enhancing our true nature and on the path. And it's always going to be a journey. We're not going to be like, I'm enlightened today. That's it, done. It's always going to be a journey. And we also have to live life. So we're going to talk about that today. Well, how do we deal with our work and our personal life and our social life and be on this spiritual path? And it's really about trying to find a balance with this journey of, the self-realization with the job, the family, everything. So do you want anything to add there, Amy?
I would love to. Yeah. So, Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, what it all boils down to is vairagyam, or what are you willing to let go of? What are you willing to surrender that's not serving you? What are you attached to that is making you suffer? And I was listening to a podcast by Ram Dass yesterday, put out by 1440 Multi-University, that he said the same thing. He said, when you're suffering, just look at what it is that you're attached to. And that's very similar to Michelangelo and the sculpture. What are we willing to chisel away to be happier?
Yeah, and that's great. That's a great point. Absolutely. And, clients ask me, what should I do? Do I have to let go of these friends, or do I have to stop doing this activity? And I really say to them, you don't have to do anything. What I want you to do is focus on you. Focus on yourself and your healing journey, and these things will naturally subside, or they will come up. I don't think you have to make any definite yes-no decision. I think it happens naturally over time when you change your energy. And we talked about this before, how when you change your energy, the energy of the people around you shifts. And also there's a natural peeling away of these layers, but it doesn't have to be forced, and it doesn't have to happen within a certain period of time.
I agree. And, I have a friend that has been talking to me about exactly this. She's cleaned up her diet. She's drinking hot water all day. She's losing weight. She's, focusing on her spiritual journey. And she says it's no fun to go out with her old friends and drink and smoke and go to a concert, and it's too loud and she's too sensitive. And she said, what is this doing to me? Am I going to be alone? Now I really don't even want to hang out with those friends. And what does that mean? And she's really struggling, wondering if yoga and Ayurveda are actually making her happy. Okay. And I just asked her to reflect on, number one, the life path that she had been on, which is heading deeply into diabetes and obesity and a foggy brain that really couldn't grasp information anymore, angry mood swings. I said, you're acting like the alternative was so wonderful.
Yeah.
And I said, you really just need to reflect on it. Which path do you want to be on? Are you willing to have enough faith to keep moving forward? Her brain is cleared up. Her weight has, 30 pounds down. Wow. She feels great in her body. Her chronic pain is subsiding. And her system has become very sensitive to noise and alcohol and wrong food. And that's the next step of our journey together, is to help her reflect on what does she want out of the next 30 and 40 years of her life now? Yeah. It's going to be a very different trajectory. And where can she go from here? Right.
And it sounds like she's really having that moment of struggle, even with the ego is trying to hold on to that same old pattern, even though it wasn't serving her. But she's still, the fear is there of what's next. Do I have to really change everything, my social life, my community? She's right in the middle of it right now, but it's great that she has you to guide her along. And I think that's important, that we immerse ourselves in a community of like-minded people. And I think that's really key, is when you're starting out in this journey, and if your usual group that you hang out with is not on this path, it's not saying that you have to let them go or get rid of them, but you need to surround yourself, find groups, meditation groups, yoga classes, book groups, whatever it is, that promote a spiritual life, or that are like-minded people. I think that's really key.
And for me, I really like them to move their perception from, I got to get through this day and I need a cigarette to do it, to, what am I here to do? Who am I here to be? What special gifts do I have? Where do I see myself at age 70? Yeah. What do I want to accomplish? And really put a carrot out there, because they actually have a brand new ability to go in a new direction and do great things in this world. It's not about just getting through the day anymore.
Yes, exactly. And that daily struggle, that great daily grind that you're suffering because you're going against your true nature, not living in tune with nature. And it's really bringing that awareness in, and you're almost installing a new operating system. a new healthy
Right.
operating system that's going to help you thrive. But I do understand when the fear comes up, because it can happen fast for some people, and it can be a huge change depending on their previous lifestyle. But what I like to explain to my clients is that to look at things in how they make you feel, and in particular in relation to the three mental gunas that we've talked about before in the show of tamas, sattva, and rajas. And I ask my clients, I don't tell them to do anything, but I ask them to have awareness around how something makes you feel, whether it be food, a social interaction, a conversation, it could be an experience, whatever it is, a yoga class. See how it makes you feel, see if it's serving you. And I'm going to explain a little bit about the three gunas again, in case someone's coming on this show, this episode, and haven't heard the previous ones. But like I said, there's three types of mental gunas that are changing constantly. They're not like our birth dosha, which remains the same throughout our life. The mental gunas are changing constantly, and our goal is to get towards sattva on the path of self-realization. And sattva is all about balance and harmony. It's positivity, it's truth, it's creativity, forgiveness, wisdom, it's non-attachment. Anything else you want to throw in there, Amy? It's
You're doing a great job.
It's belief, yeah.
Yeah. What I want to say about sattva that I think a lot of people really, it takes a minute to get your head around, is sattva is the absence of, too much excitement or too much distraction or too much, craziness. It's the absence of depression and lethargy and greed. So it's not something that you necessarily have to try to get to. I want to be in harmony. Rather, it goes back to what we just talked about with vairagyam. What is it that's blocking me from having harmony that I need to let go of? And it comes back to, what can you detach from? And in that emptiness of letting go of the things that don't serve you, sattva, your true nature that's been there all the time, becomes visible.
Exactly. It just emerges. Absolutely. Great point. There's nothing, you can't go around to have a mantra. It's like, I am going to be harmonious today. It comes with the lifestyle. It comes with the food. It comes with everything in your life. But just to review the other two mental gunas. So rajas is more like a selfish desire. So like Amy said, it's the overexcitement. It's the manicness, being obsessive, maybe addicted, greedy, selfish lust, being overactive. Now, on the other end of the scale, there's tamas, which is selfish aversion, and that's been dull, depressed, repressed, like that inertia, neglectful, being denied, being underactive. So you can see that rajas and tamas are at opposite ends of the equation, and sattva is right in the middle. So when I have clients going through my course and I'm dealing with them, they're asking me, how do I deal with these changes in my life? I just ask them to bring awareness. Like I said, whether it's to an interaction, a conversation, a social event, food, shoes, cigarettes, whatever it is, that how does it make you feel? Does it make you feel sattvic? Does it make you feel rajasic, overactive? Or does it make you feel tamasic, more inertia, more lethargy, more repressed?
And not just in the moment, but hours later.
Yes.
My husband has this, he's very lean, and he brings home these great big things of peanut M&Ms.
Oh.
and when I look at those, I ask myself, okay, you're going to get a temporary sugar high and fly into rajas and have enough energy to clean the house and be happy, and you're going to get all these serotonin rush. But that within the hour, you're going to feel like you're in tamas. You're going to feel like you need a nap, and you're going to feel lethargic, and then you're going to feel some depression. And so when we look at these lifestyle choices, we have to acknowledge, hey, am I going to eat the M&Ms today or not?
Yeah.
And it really does make a difference. And every single decision that we make in our lives has the same effect as the M&Ms, meaning you go up and then down, or down and then up, versus if you decide, I really don't think I need the M&Ms,
Right.
that's sattva.
Yes.
Meaning,
Yes.
yeah.
You're trying to avoid, I always look back at that pendulum swinging. The pendulum swings from rajas to tamas. You want to keep that pendulum steady so it
Right.
doesn't overtake you. Their emotions don't overtake you. But anything in the moment may be pleasurable, but that's really rajasic, that you're looking for that pleasure in the moment. But then, like Amy said, it's thinking about the long-term effect of that.
Right.
Yeah, and I was listening to, or was actually on a video from Sadhguru of the Aisha Foundation, and he said that the materialistic life is one that concerns and satisfies your physical body and mind. And he gave some great tips. He said, live your materialistic life like you're going to live forever, and live your spiritual life like today's the last day. Isn't that great? It's a great way of thinking about it.
Let's unpack the first statement.
Right.
Live your materialistic life like you're going to live forever.
So that nothing needs to be made a priority. There's always going to be shoes to buy. There's always going to be cigarettes to smoke. There's always going to be alcohol. There's always going to be, bad food to eat, whatever, processed food to eat. But your spiritual life, think of it like today's the last day. So, for example, you want to start your day with those dinacharya we always talk about, because if this is your last day, this is your last morning, you're going to wake up. What do you want to do? You want to make sure you're on that spiritual path, right?
Right.
And, that's why we start our morning with these dinacharya, ideally with some meditation. Of course, with everybody, it's different. When I talk to my clients, I look at their lifestyle. I'm not going to tell the mom who's been up, for hours and hours, a new mom during the night feeding her baby. But, I might say, oh, well, meditate while you're breastfeeding or bottle feeding. And, but it's important to start your day off with these dinacharya. And first thing every morning, make it that priority to connect with yourself in that prana-rich time of the day, which is before sunrise, when nature is quiet, it's less distracting. And really think about how you would want this, if it was your last day, how you would want that perfect day to be.
Right. And what dinacharya rituals in the morning are doing is setting you up for sattva.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. You're in that prana-rich time of day. You're you're connecting to yourself. You're doing your tongue scraping. You're taking care of your body. You're, making sure you're hydrated, and you're doing some meditation, like we said, or some whatever works for you, whether it's meditation and pranayam or some yoga. But you're making sure that you're starting your day off in a balanced way with your self-care habits, rather than, feet hitting the floor and running out the door.
Well, and I just want to say my journey through, having a less sattvic life and moving towards a more sattvic life, I too went through these periods of, wow, I don't really have that many friends now that I'm transitioning. And my husband and I have a joke, because one year on my birthday, nobody called me to tell me happy birthday. The only call I got was from the man at Honda that had sold me my car.
Oh, Amy.
Okay, gosh. It's really fun. But the point is, you get to the other side and you actually enjoy your own company. Yeah. You enjoy the few friends that actually see the world that you see with a similar perspective. And there's just so much joy in this simplicity and not trying to keep up with the Joneses and not trying to be something you're not. I would have so much joy if the only person that called me this year on my birthday was, the man from Honda. Like, I would think it was hilarious now.
But it is so true. I think, there's such awareness when you're on this spiritual path. And I was just actually talking to somebody about this yesterday, and how you can feel from your interactions, how you checking in after an interaction, how you feel. Are you drained after it? Are you, revived and energetic after it? And that's very telling. So I really, encourage people to tune in, if they're having interactions with people and not feeling the social pressure, like, or the FOMO, right? The fear of missing out, like, oh, I have to do this, I have to do that. You know, I oftentimes say to my friends, look, if you the last minute, or if I at the last minute don't want to go somewhere because I'm not feeling like being social that day, it's okay to call me and be like, I'm not feeling it. And I get it, because you might get a call from me going, I'm just not feeling it today. I need to just chill at home, you know?
And I also want to say, in addition to everything you've said, which is fabulous, check in with how you feel around people. I find myself wanting to fix other people's rajas and tamas. Like, oh, if you just do this, you could be in sattva, and why don't you try that? And like this weird codependent thing that now I want everyone else to be in sattva. And the truth is, if they don't want to be in sattva, they don't want to be in sattva. And it's none of my business. And I need to shut my little mouth.
Well, but that's coming from a place of love.
It is. But on some level, if they're not asking for it. And
it's also coming from a pitta place. I do the same thing.
Yes. And if they, I mean, it's one thing if they're my client and they're coming to me and saying, I'm suffering, I need help. Of course.
Right.
But when it's, a friend that appears to be suffering, but she's really deep into her materialism and rajas, well, it's not my business to create sattva for her.
Yeah, I know. I have the same issue. I think it's a bit of, it's wanting people to feel great, and also, it's that pitta nature is like, oh, but I could just tell you what to do.
Right. Well, why don't, if you would do dinacharya and then you drink hot water all day and then you take a bath with Epsom salt, it's like, oh, come on.
So my thing now is hands up. It's like, okay, you're on your journey, I'm on mine, and I'm going to step back. And I've learned the hard way that, that not everyone needs my counsel. So, yeah. So unless they ask, unless they ask for it, I'm just like, yeah. You're on your journey, I'm on mine. And it's also, we have to be careful of judgment as well. And, and when we are out with people or interacting with people who are not on that path, I think there has to be flexibility, and also just kind of going with the flow and letting the situation be what it is. Not that saying that you have to go do something that's against your beliefs, but also just being flexible. I think if we're too strict, if we're too perfectionist in our mindset, that can cause huge stress in the situation we're in, but also in our own body and mind.
I agree. And, I have one friend that I met 22 years ago. And at the time, she and I were very much on the same pathway, very athletic and, in the Department of Kinesiology, and we had so much in common. And then as I transitioned into a more yogic spiritual lifestyle, at first we went through this phase where I think she just thought I was weird. She just thought I was cuckoo, like, okay, I think she's in a cult. And then after about 7 or 8 years of that, then we found some we still love each other deeply. And we found some common ground, things that we could do together, things that we did still love about each other and wanted to be together. And now, she texts me and says, I love you, I miss you. She just invited me to her retirement luncheon because she wants me there by her side. I mean, the love can still be there. It's just going to be different. Yes,
absolutely. And I've had this interaction a lot recently because, as you know, I've just moved back to France. So when I was here before, when I lived here for 6 years before, I had the yoga studio, and I was on the spiritual path, but I was just on the cusp of it. And then when I left in 2014, that's when I went on my spiritual journey, traveling by myself for the year and so on, and ended up in Bali. And that's on a whole nother episode on the podcast. But, so then I'm coming back after 4 years on this really serious spiritual path, and coming back to the friends that I had before who don't necessarily know me like this. And it's been really interesting. It's been great. It's, because I've been more flexible about it, but also I'm speaking my truth, because I'm actually kind of I'm just done with trying to censor myself. I'm done with that. I just speak my truth and I say what I think and, about situations. And then so that spirituality comes out from time to time. But thankfully, everyone has been receptive to it. And I think they kind of understand that I've shifted a lot. And there's been a curiosity, which has been interesting from people. But also, I still go out with my friends. I still, we go out for dinners here and have wine. And I still like that. Definitely don't drink as much wine. My body can't handle it as much as I used to before when I lived here. But but there's a balance, and it's finding that balance that's right for you. And also, like I said, that flexibility is really important, and just being able to chill and then being able to, retreat when you need to, and being true to yourself. I think that's really key.
I think that's been the biggest thing for me transitioning from more of a materialistic life to a spiritual life, is that I've learned to make choices and not just kind of blindly wander around through my life, but say to myself, okay, it's Friday night. I have nothing going on until Monday morning. Mm-hmm. This would be a good night if I wanted to have a glass of wine, and I know I'm not going to feel very well the next day. Yeah. It's worth it. I'm going to do it because I'm with friends and it's going to be a fun night, and I'll do it. And then the choice to never, ever, ever have any alcohol the night before a school. Yes. I will not do it.
Yep. Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, like Friday nights now have changed for me, because we used to go out and have an aperitif on a Friday evening, but I stopped that because I teach yoga and, fitness classes on the beach on Saturday morning, and there's no way my head or body will be in the game, even if I have one glass of wine, because that's another thing that happens on our spiritual journey. Our body becomes so sensitive to anything that's not of, that's not sattvic, or that's not of a really good quality, even if it's the best bio or organic wine. So, I visualize my body going, oh, hell no, we're not doing that mess. You will be a hot mess tomorrow. You won't be able to focus. Your mood will be different. I can feel like even one glass of wine, the effect it has on my body, but I enjoy it. So you, I will choose when to have it. I'll make sure I drink lots of water afterwards and keep well hydrated. But I'll make sure it's an organic wine. But yeah, you have to choose and make a conscious choice. And that's what it is, really, is being conscious. But if we deny ourselves something on our path, if we go, no, I'm on a spiritual path and I must never drink wine again, and how horrific would that be, living in the south of France and not drinking wine? But anyway, but if we were to deny ourselves something, we'll crave it even more. And the cravings or desire that's showing up is really like, it's an unconscious expression that's in search of more fulfillment. So whatever that more or that fulfillment is. So I think we consciously have to direct our actions, our thoughts, our awareness to our spiritual journey. And then we will find that we'll satisfy those desires and cravings in a more conscious way, like we're talking about, that it will make the choice. Yeah, I'm going to have a glass of wine. I don't have to be up early in the morning. I don't have any work on. So it's a good night for me to have a glass of wine, or whatever it is.
Right. And I think what you were saying about being conscious, that is really every choice, everything that we do all day long, just consciously saying, how is this affecting my mental gunas?
Yeah.
Am I always sleepy after lunch? And what is that about? And wow, the days that I had sushi, I wasn't sleepy, but the days that I had lasagna, I was sleepy. Right. And just really kind of, or for me, whenever I overeat, I have terrible hot flashes. It's like my body kicks up into high gear to burn off, the thermic effect of food. And my hot flashes for the next few hours are terrible. So just that consciousness, I didn't run off to get a drug or run off to get something to fix my hot flashes. I realized, oh, it's overeating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And that's key, looking at the root of where is this coming from, like you said, rather than just going to the medicine cabinet and going, okay, what's going to suppress this? And that's what Ayurveda says, discriminate your actions be mindful and think about your actions in every aspect of your life, and just have this really a curiosity and awareness around, wow, isn't that interesting? When I have that, this happens, or when I do this activity, I feel this way, or when I interact with this person, it makes me feel like this. And it's interesting to be that curious about everything in your life, and to see how you feel, when you're interacting with people or things, or when you're doing activities.
Yeah, the yoga tradition that I come from, Krishnamacharya, he said that the highest state of a human being is to walk around in awe all day long.
Oh, and I got shivers. That's lovely.
Yeah. The curiosity about, how is this going to affect me? And Colette, I have even started to take that into my really negative emotions, like when I'm having terrible fear about something. I've started to try to feel that curiosity and awe about, whoa, what's that about? And isn't that an interesting sensation in your solar plexus? Right. And what do you think that's about, Amy? And trying to just work my way back to sattva, even when it's a really, really unpleasant situation. And I do that through curiosity and just trying to be with what is, and not label it or judge it so negatively.
Right. And sometimes you can't label it. Sometimes I'll have a feeling in my body, and it's amazing how our body talks to us before we are even conscious of an emotion. And sometimes I'll be feeling, just off. And I'm like, why am I feeling like this? What happened? And I have to literally question myself, what happened? Why am I feeling this, this heaviness in the pit of my stomach? Or why am I feeling this fear, or whatever it is? And then, like you said, being curious about what it is that happened. And it is really so interesting to live life that way, and to be like, whoa, I just had a really crazy interaction with someone, and now I'm feeling, completely drained of energy. I'm feeling like I just want to go lay down. What is this trying to tell me? It's just so interesting.
Well, and what's even more mystical is that sometimes you feel it and you don't know why, and there's no reason, and then that evening the shoe drops and you're like, oh, somewhere inside myself I must have known something was coming.
That's
it's
huge.
A very strange thing. And even dreams, I think dreams can be very, very good ways to let you know if you're on the right path, if you're closer to sattva, if you're not, premonition about where things might be heading. I mean, Patanjali's Yoga Sutras talks about using your dreams as a reflection tool to figure out, is it my issue? Is it your issue? Is it our issue? Is something about to happen? Am I digesting something that already happened? You know?
Yeah, very true. And that's when it comes to in the morning, doing that morning writing or automatic writing or just journaling and trying to remember your dreams or trying to just write down the thoughts that come. I think that's a great idea. First thing in the morning.
Right. And remembering that you are every person in your dream. You're not always the good guy. Sometimes you're the guy chasing, and sometimes you're the guy being chased. But, Jungian dream analysis would say you are all of the people in the dream.
That's really interesting. Yeah. So, and this is all information that's so great to analyze. And our bodies, our mind is fascinating. And we know that we still don't understand how everything works, right? There's so much research and studies, and they're finding new things all the time. So we're still trying to figure out how our body, this amazing vehicle, works. So it's so great to have that enthusiasm about it. And when you have that curiosity, you're more likely to take care of yourself and to live a sattvic life and to be more mindful about what you eat and what situations you put yourself in, etc. Go ahead.
Can I flip it for a minute and also say that we are human beings. We're here to have a human experience. We're here to taste the wine and get in fights with our significant other. And, Purusha, your deepest soul, honestly doesn't have preferences or aversions or attachments. It does not care if you want to trash your body and be in abusive relationships, to Purusha, it's just an experience. Mm-hmm. So I think we have to, number one, realize that we create our own lives. Yep. And we're still human. We can go too far into this spiritual life where I can only eat bean sprouts and I can only hang out with this type of people, and I must not ever do anything in the evening because I must get up at 4:30 a.m. for my yoga practice, and therefore there will never ever be an evening activity. Like, I think we can take it too far. We are human beings as well as spiritual beings.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I've seen that a lot. I mean, that's what we're talking about, that flexibility, like live life. We have to live our life. We have to go, pay the bills. We have to do our work. Life is amazing, and to enjoy it and live every aspect of it. But again, it's just being mindful, and the spirituality can be brought into every aspect of your life, but it doesn't need to be strict. And that comes back to this idea we have of it has to be difficult. It has to be a difficult, challenging journey. And it doesn't. It's just having awareness around it. I think our spirituality can even be brought into our profession, into our career. So I think we can, in all aspects of our life, bring that spirituality in. But like you said, it doesn't have to be severe. It's all about flexibility, moderation, balancing it out. Because when we get to that severity, that's when things won't flow, and then people will start not wanting to be around you because you're so strict.
Yeah, I had that happen with my university professor job, that for many years I swung the pendulum too far one way into that strictness. And I felt this separation between the life I wanted, which was the spiritual life, and the life I felt I had to have to make money and pay my bills. And I was so miserable at work. I was counting the days till I could be done each quarter, and I was grouchy. And then one day I woke up and I said, no, these two need to come together. How can you bring your values and your beliefs into your teaching of sports psychology and into your teaching of sports sociology and history and philosophy? And since I did that, the kids love it more. I love it more. We have more fun. They're getting spiritual principles peppered in through their sports psych lecture that they don't even realize are spiritual principles. And my life is much more holistic. Yeah. It's integrated now.
Right, exactly. And you're living more in a flow rather than going, okay, this is separation and this is my work life and this is my personal life, and the two shall never meet. But and Ayurveda does give some social, and dharmic sattviti and ways to live a sattvic life socially. And I'd just like to go through a few of those. Maybe we can discuss them. Yeah. We talked about discriminating your actions, right? Being mindful. And we talked about that, how being really curious and having awareness around how different things in your life make you feel. Also speaking the truth, but being gentle in doing so. So if you're out in a social occasion, say with friends, for example, and you don't agree with something that's been said, like always be truthful to yourself. Don't go along with something that you don't agree with, but do so in a gentle way. What do you think of that?
I completely agree. And that's something, as a Pitta personality woman, I have to constantly back off. I am received better and I feel more spacious when I cool the Pitta slightly and come in gently. I'm always going to have the clarity and the sharpness that I need in any situation. It's just there. Right. So for me, learning to back off a little bit and go in much more gentle with more satyam, the truth with kindness. Yes. It works every time.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a practice in itself.
Oh, trust me. I've been there, done that, and doing that.
Me too. Another one of the social sattviti guidelines that Ayurveda gives is to be humble, be strong, and to be passionate about something in your life. So humility, I've talked about this before. I think it's a characteristic that's really a beautiful one, and one that's really needed in our lives, and I would love to see more humility in the world, and I think that's beautiful, that we can always learn from everybody else. You can learn from children. You can learn from the elderly. You can learn from the animals. You can learn from nature. Have that humility that the world is just a constant encyclopedia for you.
Right. This has been really up for me since I was elected president of the board for International Association of Yoga Therapists.
Yeah.
So many people have been approaching me and say, what's your position on this? And what do you think about that? And you need to make a public statement. And I truly feel that I am here to listen. I am here to talk to smart people and see what their ideas are, and stay humble and not try to take the organization in the direction of my agenda. Right. I'm going to be here for a year or two tops as president. Mm-hmm. That's it. I'm a drop in the bucket. Mm-hmm. And I do have preferences. I do have ideas. I have researched where I think the organization should go. I have helped to create a strategic plan. But I'm humble enough to know that I'm just a peon in the big picture, and it may or may not end up going where I personally think it should go. Yeah. And that's okay with me.
That's a beautiful approach. And also it's a very freeing approach that you're just letting things guide or flow along and seeing how you can best hold this container and hold this space for this position. But you're not forcing an agenda. So it makes it, it's much easier to go with the flow.
Yeah, and it's not that we don't have a plan. We have a plan, but we are willing to listen to new information. Right. We're willing to be educated by people. It's, yes, I have a plan, I have a strategy, and I'm still open and receptive.
Yeah, because again and again, I've got some great ideas from people who are outside of my field or not even connected with what I was working on, but they gave it different insight, a different way of looking at something. And I think that's important in life, to not be so fixed on your beliefs and on the way you do things, but just be open.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So another one is to forgive, to help, and to compliment others. And that's a beautiful thing. When we're in service, when we're helping, or even when we're complimenting someone on whatever it is, it just feels so good, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
I think it just boosts your sattva right up.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Now, everything in moderation, though. I mean, I think I've experienced this, and I'm sure you have, that if you don't take care of your own prana with your dinacharya and your daily practices, you can become so drained by being of service. Yeah. So there's a balance even with service.
Oh, I agree. Absolutely. Yes. You have to start with your own foundation first, and that foundation of those healthy self-care practices, those daily practices, so that you make sure that your well is full before you even start giving to others. Because if you're going out there with the well that's very low, you won't be in a good place to help others. And you'll feel it. You'll feel it in your body, in your energy. You'll feel, you may just get pissed off. You may get resentful. You'll just be drained. And just that lethargy will show up in your energy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you know, the times that I get completely drained, like I'm doing a 9-day training on day 8 and 9, I'm just not in sattva anymore, and I'm grouchy, and I hurt people's feelings because I don't have enough satyam, you know, and you know, it happens. It happens to all of us, but to try to figure out, like I recently switched my training so that one day in the middle of the training is completely off. So I have like 36 hours of rest before I jump in again. I did that because I value sattva, and I don't want to be grouchy at the end of a training.
And that's exactly that awareness. You're like, okay, when I do this, all these days in a row of training, I feel this. So how can I switch it up to better serve me and to serve the audience? And that's a perfect example of having that awareness, going, okay, I see what's happening here, and I don't want to continue like that. So it's a perfect solution.
Mm-hmm. For me and the students. Yes. They get grouchy too.
Absolutely. The next one is honoring your guests, the elderly, and animals. I'm a big one on respecting our elders. I think they have so much to teach us. They've been through the life. ahead of us, and I think that's something that's really needed in our society more and more. We need to integrate the elders into our lives more. But I think that's very important. And animals, of course. I think animals, when we watch them, unless they're domesticated, they're in tune with the circadian rhythms, and we just have to watch what they're doing.
I'm a big one on that. I had a huge litter of kittens be born in a snowstorm outside my house. And in my mind, I didn't like cats, like those aloof animals that just, But anyway, of course, they're kittens, so you have to bring them in until you can rehome them. But the problem was I fell in love.
How long ago was that?
6 years.
Okay. And that's funny. I didn't know that you were not a cat person before.
Oh, not at all. But here's the thing. Because there were so many and because they were feral, they are not fully domesticated. They've got these wild genes in them. And so, for better or for worse, we allowed them to still go outside sometimes and play. And with that, they bring in this energy of the moon and the trees and the rocks. And it is palpable that they are connected to the gunas. And when something that wild comes and sits on your chest and wants love, it is one of the most powerful experiences that I have in my life of any spiritual experience. And it happens daily that these wild cats, they're still semi-feral, want love.
Oh, isn't that beautiful?
I love it.
Yeah, and that you can feel it. But animals are powerful.
They are. Now, having guests into my home, I'm not as much of a hostess with the mostest. That's one I need to work on. My home is my cave. It's where I come to rest and recover. I'm not someone that likes to have dinner parties and I wish I was. I have this fantasy.
But I don't think honoring your guests has to be guests in your home. I think they could be in the Airbnb down the road. You could still honor them.
Let's do
and
that.
It makes a happier life for everyone when everyone has their space. So I think it's just being respectful. Yeah, I think it's actually wise and it just shows that your development, that that this is my cocoon and this is what I need in order to be at my, have plenty of sattva and to be energetic and to be a great person the next day. I need my quietness at home. I need that retreat. And I think that's important. Some people are extroverts, some people are introverts, some people are mixed between the two. And but I think it's very wise to understand yourself and go, no, this is not, this doesn't serve me.
Yeah, and I think that's part of this whole, gunas of the mind and making sure that you try your best to maintain sattva is knowing where you can negotiate with yourself and where you can't. And over the years, I've found that's one area that I'm just not very good giving that away. My prana gets depleted.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I totally understand that. And I think it's important. This is this self-study that we go through with Ayurveda and yoga. And I think it's important to understand yourself instead of beating yourself up, which I would have done for years. Like, wait, now why don't I want to go and hang out with everybody, until midnight? Or why don't I want all these people in my home? And why am I getting kind of a bit pissed off when I have a lot of people around me in my home? Well, it's because I'm drained from being out working all day. And then I come home and I have all this energy at home and it just doesn't serve me.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So the next one is supporting others who are in fear or pain or depression, right? So having compassion for others and recognizing that, they're on their journey and that they may need support, and have an empathy for others, without the judgment, right?
Exactly. And I use the I Ching a lot. I'm kind of a yogi / I Ching person. Do you know what the I Ching is?
No, I was about to ask, what's I Ching?
Oh, it's a I guess it's from a Chinese tradition that you throw coins. There's 6 coins, and depending on the pattern of the 6 coins, heads or tails, it has hexagrams that you go to and read. Okay. So I've had someone that's been really suffering in my life and lashing out at me as a result of them suffering. And I keep throwing I Ching coins over and over, like every week, another one. And it just keeps coming up with the same hexagrams telling me, look, just because someone else is having an issue and suffering doesn't mean it's about you, even if they're projecting it onto you. Mm-hmm. So can you be the sage? Can you still give compassion? Can you still open your heart and send love with boundaries, of course?
Right.
And know that this is not even about me. Mm-hmm. The fact that they're projecting it onto me is true, but I can still love them. I can still send compassion. I can still take the arrow and just pull it back out and say, okay, that one hurt, but it's actually not about me.
Right,
you know?
Right.
And that's hard work.
It is.
Right there.
It is hard work. Yeah, that's a constant reminding yourself, like, it's not about me. It's not, I see their suffering. But also, again, you have to have awareness and protect yourself in that situation.
Right. And do the work of, is there anything for me to learn and see and grow in this? Because, we can't just be like, oh, they're having a problem, I'm going to look down my nose at them.
Right.
Like, of course, I did all of that first for quite a long time before I came to the realization that I had cleaned up my side of the fence and that I could still have compassion even though things are difficult.
Yeah, and I think it's good for us, because I think the judgment, that if we went into a state of judgment, I think that brings in a rajasic quality to the mind. So it affects us also.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I just want to say, a friend said to me this week, it's good to have really spiritual friends that remind you. Mm-hmm. She said, the anger that I'm feeling has become part of me now, and I don't want that anymore.
Wow, yeah. So
she had felt angry at someone, and the anger was permeating her and becoming her. And she's like, oh man, I don't want that.
Right. Right. Absolutely. And all these emotions are like in your body. So it's all about expressing them, getting them out, or taking yourself out of a situation if it's just too much.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good. Okay. So the next one is avoiding sinful actions.
The Bhagavad Gita has so much wisdom, and the three deadly sins, according to the Bhagavad Gita, are lust, rage, and greed. And if you think about it, each one of those goes along with, Vata, Pitta, Kapha, getting out of balance, in different directions. But I always think about that lust, rage, and greed are the deadly sins that we really have to make sure we're not going there. Yeah.
So you would consider lust, Vata, rage, Pitta, and then greed. Yeah. And then greed is Kapha. And I would consider those three rajasic.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was listening actually today in preparation for this. I was listening to a lot of, relationships and that desire for a relationship, or that lust for a person. And, how do we discriminate that? And I think it was interesting when you look at that with curiosity, like, is this just lust and an attraction or chemical, which is only going to be short term, right? And then it goes to, I can't remember where I read this. Maybe it was on Oprah. I don't know. But anyway, the first stage of a relationship is that, that chemistry and that, that lust for each other. And then you go the honeymoon phase, and then you go through this phase where in order for the relationship to last, I believe, is that it has to go to a next level where you're on a journey together, helping each other, supporting each other through your healing journey, and then that takes it to another level. What do you think of that?
That's been my experience.
Yeah.
My husband and I had a serious transition from, the early days into we are a team, we are a partnership. Right. What's good for me is good for us, and vice versa. And we got through. It was great.
Yeah. And do you think you have to give up something in order to have that partnership? I mean, having a partnership with somebody and being, on your journey through life with someone, I think is a beautiful thing, because it takes away that selfishness, because you're having to consider somebody else all the time. Do you think that you have to give up a part of yourself in order to have this partnership with someone through life?
I haven't. I have had to give up some expectations and some agendas that were actually unrealistic for any partnership that I would want to be in.
Right.
You can't have it your way all the time. I mean, that's, but the things that I have received as a result of being willing to give up some of my expectations and agendas have been tenfold.
Okay.
Because I chose the right person. I mean, he's in it with me. He's willing to do the work. We have the same values and beliefs. We both live a yogic lifestyle and are trying to get away from consumerism and materialism. So when you have someone like that, it's worth giving up what other silly little expectations you might have had.
Right. And I do think there's a certain amount that we have to let go of, because if we're on our own, it's very different from in a partnership. And I think it's okay to let go of that because, like I said, it takes away that selfishness and within us. But that's a good point that you made there. You know, what if, and this could be a whole nother podcast episode, what if, next time, what if you meet somebody who's, it's great, it's going really well, and you're interested in continuing the relationship, but they're not on that path. Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah, dun 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 dun. Our next podcast. Write that one down.
I think might have to do that in a whole another one, because that's an issue. How many times have you heard women say or men say, I can't find any spiritual people to date? I've definitely heard that a lot. So
I'm just going to give a really brief answer. I think if they're willing to allow us to be who we are and they're supportive of us, it can work.
I think
if they're disinterested or adversarial, it probably isn't going to work.
No, I think if they're supportive, and again, you're coming into the situation going, you're on your journey, I'm on mine, but we're going to support each other. And if they're not putting your belief systems down, and they're there to support you and listen to you, I think it could work too. But maybe we're going to have to continue that, because that could go down a rabbit hole.
Let's go to your last suggestion for a sattvic life.
Well, that would be have a belief in something. So having a belief in something is very important, and it doesn't have to be, the religion. It could be in nature. It could be a relationship that you find supportive. It could be anything. It could be your pet that brings you so much comfort. Go ahead.
And I want to say, I would even modify it further and say having the willingness to explore a belief in something, because I've gone through, my father's a Christian minister, and then to Buddhism, and then to yogic philosophy, and I'm a seeker, and no one system answered all my questions and made me feel completely at peace. It is this journey that I'm on to try to understand this word that I say is God, and that's okay. The willingness to believe in something that you don't have all the answers is just perfect.
Yeah. And I think it goes back to that curiosity. Yeah, absolutely. Right. And, we can finish up here actually, because I'm just going to talk about the 3 doshas, and faith is very important for Vata. It's the antidote to that stress, that anxiety, that restlessness, that fear that can show up when Vata is imbalanced. So faith is very important for Vata in order to be on more of a sattvic path. So that's something for Vata that if you are a high Vata constitution, I would look into that, something you should seriously consider if you're on this spiritual journey and you want more of a sattvic life. Where can you find that faith and that support? It's really about the support that you can, let all those worries, all that mind spinning, that restlessness that can take hold when you're out of balance, and put that out there in something that you can offload it.
Absolutely. And not just a Vata birth constitution, but most of us are living such a Vata imbalanced life. I mean, I don't have a lot of Vata in my constitution, but my mind can get so Vata deranged.
Right.
I have a sign in my bathroom, a big sign that says, "Let your faith be bigger than your fear." And it reminds me every single morning.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And very, very good point. We are living in a society where it's very Vata provoking. So a lot of us may feel that. So looking at that faith aspect in your life, what do you have faith in? And then for Pitta, to have more of a sattvic life, looking more towards how can you be more compassionate and abstaining from judgment, because we know Pitta traits are maybe being overcritical, over judgmental, and really pushing and expecting others to push through as well. But having more compassion for those of you who don't have your traits of, of drive and competitiveness. So I think that there are two things that a person with a high Pitta constitution could look towards in order to have a more sattvic life.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And then finally for Kapha, it would be more working on non-materialism and non-attachment, because when Kapha becomes out of balance, there's this possessiveness that comes with it, and wanting to hold on to material things, but also to people. And so in order to live a more sattvic life, is how can you work towards non-materialism, like purging all that, all those collections you have, whether it's clothes or knickknacks or whatever it is, and also non-attachment to things.
You just ruined my day. I was going to go to the thrift store today.
Just saying, Amy. Just saying.
Darn it.
Have a look around the house. How much stuff do you have there?
Too much.
Well, there you go. So we've left you with some homework today, something to ponder.
Yes.
Is there anything else you want to add, my dear, before we finish up here?
I think it's been lovely. This discussion is so prevalent to anyone making the transition from a more external, materialistic, consumer-focused life to a more spiritual and life filled with non-attachment and non-materialism. And it's a hard transition. I think we need a community around us to help support us through that transition.
Yeah, I think that's key. And so if you're in a situation where you don't have that community right now, look towards, is there a yoga school? Is there a meditation group? Is there other support structures in your community that you can go to and find that, is there talks or even online communities as well? But just, to leave people with, that everything on your journey should be towards enhancing your true nature. So having flexibility, having compassion for yourself, and just not being so strict on yourself. Be flexible, go with the flow, but always come back to your values and your beliefs and be true to yourself.
I'm with you.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you, Amy.
Thank
Another
you.
hour has gone by and we
love it.
Love it. Thank you, everybody. Take good care of yourself. And I look forward to having Amy on. We're creating a list of topics that could go on and on forever. So we'll have lots more episodes with Amy. And Amy, I always appreciate your time and your wonderful wisdom that you share with us.
And my enthusiasm, because I love doing this. You have created this place for me to come and have fun. Brilliant. So I so appreciate you.
Oh, likewise. Okay, take care, my dear. I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks.
Okay, bye. I hope you enjoyed that episode with Amy, and I promise we'll do another whole episode on relationships coming soon. It's just a topic that needs a whole episode on its own. I wanted to remind you about that special competition I have going on right now for the 1-year anniversary of the Elements of Ayurveda podcast. We celebrate our 1-year anniversary on August 10th, and the competition will run until August 9th. Please check out the link in the show notes. It's also on my website, Elements Healing and Wellbeing /podcast competition. It's under the events tab. But you have an opportunity to win one of 4 prizes. The first prize is entry into my upcoming seasonal cleanse, the digestive reset cleanse that we do at the end of summer before transitioning into fall to prevent any illness or buildup of toxins. That happens on September 27th. And the second prize is going to be an online 90-minute consultation with me, Ayurvedic consultation. The third prize is entry into my 4-week daily habits for holistic health course. That's an ongoing course. You can start at any time. It's self-paced. And I, of course, support you on the way. But that's the third prize. And then the fourth prize is from our friends at Banyan Botanicals. It's $100 worth of products that are going to be specific to your dosha. So enter the competition. You can enter as many times as you like, and I wish you all the best in that competition. Just click on the link in the show notes. It will take you there, and I will be announcing the winners on August 10th. Okay, take care everyone, and be well, and I'll talk to you soon.